I really got into music when I was around 10 years old, back when Eminem was really popular, and I was really into him. So I wanted to be a rapper. So my parents bought me this karaoke machine from a pawn shop. It is this just old thing from the 80s, and like I had the microphone duct taped to the ceiling and dangling down in front of me so I could hold my lyrics. And it had the two tape decks, so I'd just like get a stack of tapes from Dollar General, and use those to dub over back and forth. And I was making music on Magic's Music Maker for the PlayStation 2, and so like by the time I would record the music from the television with the microphone onto a tape, and then record the vocals on top of that and everything onto another tape, and then have to use that tape and play it and dub it over while recording the backup vocals. The sound quality was just terrible, and I really didn't get into an actual band until I was about 15, or around 15 or 16. I was in this sort of like psychedelic experimental band that didn't even quite play music, with a couple of friends. And I was supposed to be the keyboard player, but I'd never touched a keyboard in my life. And I actually didn't touch a keyboard the entire time I was in that band. I ended up playing guitar, and then the other guys ended up pretty much doing nothing. But they got this other guy to join, and he was playing sort of like pop punk emo type music. This is, I guess, around the time like Fall Out Boy was really popular, and like the name of the band was Beyond Fantasia, and he wanted to change it to Cupid Kills Hollywood, and he had just all these like terribly whiny songs. So I left, and I ended up working all summer with my dad doing construction to save up enough money to buy this shitty little Squire Bullet guitar, and like this multi-effect pedal, this little plastic thing. But so after that, I was I went through a few other bands that really didn't go anywhere. Nobody was really serious about it. And I was with Ray Bridgmay for about 7 years, and that was a great experience. It was my first time touring, and actually going into a studio and making music that actually sounded decent, sounded like, I guess, studio quality. And since then I've just I started learning Pro Tools and FL Studio, and trying to learn every aspect of the music making process. And now I'm here.
When I was young, I always liked music. Like, my mom would always question me about songs on the radio and stuff, like who's this band and who's that band. And so I grew up I really liked music. It was like my thing. And then when I got older, we in 6th grade had to play recorder, and everyone was awful at it, and I would just take mine home and I would practice like all the time with it, and was better than most of the kids in the class, and I got recognition for it, and I liked that. And so the next year I went to junior high, and we could try out for band. So I tried out for percussion, but I guess didn't have rhythm and couldn't read music or anything. So they were like, no, you can't be in it. And then my stepdad name dropped, because a few of my family members had been in the local band for the high school or whatever. So they gave me a shot at it, and I got to be in percussion. And at first I was super awful at it. I didn't understand how to read music, and I didn't understand very much of anything. And then as time progressed, I practiced and got better and moved up in my chairs, and sometimes was first chair, second chair, and then other times I wouldn't give a shit and I'd be last chair. And then the other kids, when you are in percussion, your sheet music's just rhythm. It's just one line of notes, and unless you play like instruments that have like multiple tunings and stuff. So I wanted to, the other kids just were awful at it, and I liked reading sheet music, so I always got delegated to play xylophone, which, you know, it's like a piano. So I always just played that, and that was my thing, and made an all-state on it, and went to band camp, and we got to go to like Arklatex and play in these competitions, and I was really good at sight reading, and that was just like my favorite thing to do. And then as I got older, a kid in percussion class got a drum set, and then he wanted to start a band, so I begged my mom, and for Christmas she got me a like Squire bass, and I love that thing. I played it all the time, and we had this little garage band, and I was just so shitty. I was so awful at it. Like, the guitar player would always be like, man, you gotta play the 3rd fret, and he would tell me it was a G, and I didn't know what he was talking about, and I could barely even count the frets at the time, and they would just do all these changes, and I couldn't keep up. So it was basically like them actually jamming and me just playing out of key all the time. I guess like most bass players. And then when I turned about 16, I'd gotten another bass, and then our little garage band broke up, and I had like this Dean bass because I didn't know anything about basses either, and I got like a metal bass that a metal player would have, and it just sounded awful for the kind of music I was trying to do. And then by the time I was 16, I was into punk music a lot, and I really liked I really liked Rancid and the Dead Kennedys and stuff like that. So I traded the Dean bass for a Squire guitar, and I didn't. It was like way too many strings, and I didn't know anything about it. And we had this really crappy drum set I bought. My friend would come over, and I had a karaoke machine, and we just plug into that, and I would just scream into the microphone and just play these power chords that were just awful sounding. And then as I got older, like, my music taste evolved, and I learned more about music, and I knew chords and just the basics of chords, not really like anything too complex. And I would be in like these little bands here and there with usually like one other dude, and we'd try to write these songs, but wouldn't really be in a key. It would be a lot of key changes, I guess. And then I started hanging out with these dudes, and they were pretty much badass at music, and they taught me, you know, about modes and scales and stuff like that, which I had already learned in band. I just never could apply to guitar. And I still couldn't understand, and like I remember one day asking one of them, like, how do you know when it's supposed to be a minor chord? And so he explained it to me, and the other dude like drew out this little chart of like how the modes went. And just like the next day I like woke up and it just all clicked, and I knew how to do like solos and how to write chord progressions and stuff like that. And I just always like want to further that and learn more and more. So I started learning about like jazz players and playing jazz guitar, and then I started learning, you know, 9 chords, 7 chords, and diminished, and just, you know, just as crazy as I can get with it, learning Japanese scales and stuff like that. And so, yep, that's how I got into music.